What's up, everybody? Jack here, and today I'm going to be talking with Rick, who does copywriting. He's got a website, and he's got a children's book he's going to be talking about. It's going to be fun. How you doing, man?
Hey Jack, what's going on?
Same old. It's
I'm doing
been
great.
uh, it's been
Yeah.
it's been weird to be back in the United States because normally I live in Nicaragua, and my Spanish is getting better, but I am definitely not fluent. So I'm used to walking down the street, and I can't understand everything that I hear. But here in the US, I can understand everything that people talk about, and it feels like I'm invading people's privacy and I'm reading their minds. It is weird. I don't know if I like it. I think I prefer not knowing what people are talking about.
Yeah, I understand that feeling. And same here. I don't understand everything that I'm hearing. I'm in the Philippines, and people, there are always conversations going on that I don't quite understand. You get a word or two. Sometimes they're speaking a little bit of English. A couple English words thrown in,
You
and it's
speak
you
Tagalog,
get the
right?
gist. But most Tagalog, yeah, Tagalog.
Tagalog.
It's everything's okay. It's always the second syllable in Tagalog. That's stressed, right? So like Bisaya, Tagalog, Waray. But yeah, I used to think it was Tagalog too when I was a kid. Like Tagalog, tag along,
So it's
you
Tagalog.
know, tag along.
Tagalog
Did you
is
grow
the
up?
name of the language?
Yeah, Tagalog. That's how
Okay.
they say it any way you want. But they always say Tagalog. When I got here, I think I was saying Tagalog, or I'm studying it though. Yeah, I was studying it a bit before I came. Got a library tape and then looking on the internet. I had it better in Cavite because there's a lot of Tagalog there, but here not so much Tagalog. They're speaking Waray here, the Waray language. I'm
What's
in
that?
Semar.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a whole different dialect, right? A little bit of Tagalog thrown in. I mean, it's the same. A few words are the same, but man, it's very different. Tagalog was quite a bit easier. I had a teacher, when I first got here, Tagalog teacher,
Are they similar
part time.
to Spanish at all?
Yeah, there's some Spanish words for sure. There's a lot of Spanish influence here. Guitar is the same, or maybe guitar.
Guitarra?
Uh, yeah, guitar, something like that. And then guitar, yeah, you see that written down. I don't know if I've heard anyone say it. There's also like music. What do they call musicians? And drummero, bajista for bass, or
Hmm.
there's a lot of slang too. But yeah, there's a lot of loads of Spanish influence in the language, as far as I know.
One thing
And
I didn't realize until living in Nicaragua was, well, at least with Spanish and English, most of the words are almost identical. There's just a little like basicamente, basically,
yeah,
absolutamente, absolutely,
yeah,
scientifico, scientific. Like they're most words are really similar. It's just the common base words that are different, which makes it confusing.
common pace, you said?
Yeah, like the base words is in the words that you use in like everyday sentences, the most common words. These words are different, but the scientific and technical words and the long words, they're almost all very similar. In Spanish and
Oh,
English. I don't know about Spanish and Tagalog. Tagalog.
in Tagalog. Yeah, no, it's not quite like that. But I heard before the old people can speak Spanish because they learned it from their parents. This place used to be ruled by the Spanish, right?
Yeah.
I think they lost it in 1890 or something. But I guess Spanish was almost like an official language at one time, and then the Waray, or the Tagalog and the Waray and the Cebuano, all those other languages came from Malaysian blood, right? So there's a mix of Malaysian folks and Spanish people, and I don't know, some Chinese, a lot of Chinese influence. There's a big mix of stuff here. Chinese businessmen and Chinois. They got Chinois that are Chinese Filipinos, like half half, or maybe they had a Chinese dad and a Filipino mom, or
Yeah.
and yeah, where I'm at now, if you go into town, it's just all the businesses are Chinese owned or Chinoy owned.
So can you
And
share a
some,
bit how did you end up in the Philippines?
oh, my dad had ties here. He had a Filipino girlfriend, and I had split up with my girlfriend, my USA girlfriend, after 9 years. And she said, "Why don't you go to the Philippines and just for a trip?" And so we all went. And my dad hadn't been here at that time. He met his girlfriend in the U.S., right? And so we all came, and then it just started. I just stayed on, right? They went back home. My dad came back later. Um, I stayed on because I met a gal, and it was a really free country at the time, uh, free and easy under the old government, under the old president. You could drive without a seatbelt.
Yeah.
You could drink beer on the street. Anything you want to do. I'm not a beer drinker, but you just pretty much be free to without. And if you did get stopped by a policeman, it was a $5 bribe to get out of it.
Yeah.
If you said, "Hey, you should be wearing your seatbelt," well, you just give them some lunch money and you're on your way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Mexico. Well, I don't know if all South America is like that.
Well,
Mexico is
a
definitely like
lot of a lot of the non-developed countries are like that. But it also is
yeah, yeah.
something that people like, because people talk about that a lot in Nicaragua, for example. But
Uh-huh.
for me personally, like I've never had to bribe anybody. I've lived there for 2 years. Although I do a lot to keep myself, like I don't drive, I don't get in vehicles most of the time. I walk to do pretty much everything, or take buses, or use taxis. Um, I
Yeah,
don't
right on.
I don't stay out drinking. I don't. There's a lot of things I do to avoid trouble, but I
Yeah,
haven't had
don't want to.
I haven't had to do any kind of bribing or anything. I will say that the most common time in Nicaragua that people have to bribe is when they're driving. Because if you're driving, you get pulled over. It is absolutely inevitable. And
Yeah,
you increase the chances that the police will be like, well, we're gonna take away your license, and you're gonna have to pay this $100 fine at the office and get it back in a week. But maybe if you give me $20 right now, maybe this doesn't
yeah,
happen. That kind of stuff
yeah,
does happen here still.
yeah, yeah. I see that in Mexico and here too. $5 here, gets you out of pretty much anything. But just happened a couple times, and always in the city, in the big city. Doesn't happen here where I'm at now. And Cebu, I think one time the guy charged me 100 pesos, which is like $2 for doing a left turn, and I was arguing because the sign was really well hidden.
Yeah, there was a full tree in front of it or something.
Yeah, something like this, bent up and not painted right, that kind of thing. I looked at the sign later. Yeah, $2. I got it in Cebu one time, and I just said, "Well, enjoy your $2. Still corruption, but it's not as bad as going to traffic court back home, right?"
Yeah, and I mean that's
Have you
in a
done
way
that?
another form of corruption, because really in the US you pay more and it takes
Oh no.
longer. And really, if you get a really good lawyer and you know what you're doing, money results in less problems. It's exactly the same, except there's a system for it where it's all tracked. But really, money gets you out of problems either way. So I don't know if it's necessarily accurate to say one place is less corrupt than another. It's just the corruption looks different. The US has a lot of corporate corruption and business corruption, whereas a lot of these other countries have a lot of like first layer police corruption. But really, money gets you out of
Yeah.
problems. So
Oh yeah, we got a lot of corruption back home there. Let me get my charger. Let's see. I'm on the phone. Yeah, there's corruption back home. Looks like things are kind of corrupt right now back there, politics wise. But like you said, there's no like you said, first layer. There's no bribing by the common man, or no
yeah,
less corruption for the small folk.
Yeah, there's very
But
few
that's
places in
okay.
the US where if you get pulled over, you can bribe the cop and not get in more trouble.
Oh yeah, totally. The way to handle cops in the U.S. is to make them laugh.
Yeah.
That's what my buddy told me. Well, guitarist friend, he was right. I was always in a good mood when I got stopped by the cops. I knew it was small. Never got stopped for speeding. It's always something stupid like illegal lane change. Doesn't You don't really know what that means? Just something they
Failure to pay
tail light,
attention.
yeah, tail light out, whatever. But yeah, the Philippines is still a pretty free place, especially here. You're not
So, so I don't have a whole lot of time. I got like 10, 15 more minutes. I got to go somewhere after
that's
that.
all. Oh
So,
wow, we blabbed.
yes. So
Blabbed.
let's get more into this book that you're working on. 'Cause you mentioned that you wanted to talk about that. Can you explain like
Yeah, the
what led
book.
to it? What are you trying to do? What's it about?
Well, I got a book called Everybody Imagines the 20-Minute Creative Kid Builder, and it's to get your kids away from the phone, basically, right? Away from the TV, get them into reading, because the kids should read, and it's mostly a picture book, but it's got a great words for developing imagination. It's also built like an info product, so you can go through it with your kids if they're young, or if they're older, they can read it on their own. And right now, it's just in ebook form, and it's available on what do you call that platform? At any rate, or from me, you can get it. And it's trying to get kids to use their imagination rather than be soaked into playing video games all the time,
Yeah.
or looking at their phone, which I see a lot of kids doing now, including
I like
my
this
kids. And
sentence. A child that easily copes with failure is far more likely to succeed when they grow up.
yeah, yeah,
That's
that's
gold.
the cop. Yeah, true. So you're learning, if you have imagination, you can learn to play outside, and maybe you lose sometimes, learn to cope with failure. And then what other question? What else does it say, Jack? I don't have it in front of me. Oh, I could pull up some of it on this phone actually.
Yeah, so right now I'm showing them the copy from the Facebook page. And the title is
Yeah.
Imagination is the Beginning of Creation. Starts with as a parent, then talks about how important it is for kids to be able to think critically. Um, I will say that is something that I had a very different childhood than most people I know. And one of
Yeah,
the
you were telling me.
Yeah, one of the major differences was how my parents communicated with me. They always told me that they didn't tell me that I was special and I could do anything. They told me that it was always about like doing the work. And
Oh
so
yeah, yeah.
so so as a kid, I knew that if you wanted to do something, you had to keep trying over and over and over and over again. It wasn't about being
Yeah, right.
good. And so I think that that is something that my parents gave me that really, really, really helps because one of the big problems with my generation is that everybody was told they're special and amazing, and which is
Oh
nice.
yeah.
The intention is good there, but the problem is that you, if you think that you can do the same amount of work as other people and get further than them, life is going to be really frustrating because that's not how it works. You have to, if you want different results than other people, you have to try in a more creative way or try harder. You can't just work less and get more unless you are really good with coping with failure. So that's why I really like that sentence. A child that easily copes with failure is far more likely to succeed when they grow up. Because so many
Yeah,
of my
that's true.
friends they're just so like they're so scared of failing because they
Oh,
don't
is that
want to
right?
be seen as a person who isn't good and who isn't talented. So they hesitate and they refrain from ever putting themselves in situations where they might fail. And ultimately, in the long run, this means that they have very few experiences. And so they aren't able to feel confident. And anytime that they're faced with failure, they feel like a failure. They don't understand that failure is part of the learning process. You have to fail, 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 succeed. You can't just succeed. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, yeah, it's very hard to keep succeeding, especially you might succeed one time and be lucky, but then next project you might fail. Definitely have to learn how to fail and fail gracefully.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
part of yeah, it's part of life, and then what you learn if you're playing sports or even being in a band, writing a book, doing copy, all that stuff. Anything you want to do, right? Practice, practice, practice.
So this is a good moment to transition into copywriting, because that's something I haven't
Yeah,
talked to my audience too much about. So if you could explain, like, think about somebody who has no idea what the word copy means. What is
yeah,
what is
yeah.
copywriting? The sentence you just said, doing copy. What does that mean?
Copy. Doing copy is like selling. Selling if you're a salesman, but you're putting it on paper. You're putting it on the computer, putting it on a web page, and you're doing it not in a hard sell kind of way, but in a coaxing kind of way. Where you're pushing out. Rafi said it, pushing out the benefits of the features, right, of
Yeah,
your
so
product.
instead
You
of
still there?
listing what your product is, you're talking about the
Yeah,
benefits of your product, the
yeah.
benefits
The
of the
benefits are
lifestyle of the product.
that's right. The feeling that you'll have when you buy the product or the service. And it's what they call it salesmanship in print, right? And it's for advertisers basically that don't have the budget of the big advertising agencies, right? So we're not for it, right? We're just Jack and Rick, and we're trying to sell our product or our service to our prospects. And so it's basically a way of trained writing to get it clear, get your goal clear and get it concise in as few words as possible, push out the benefits, give some examples, give some social proof of, say, if you're selling medicine that was developed by a doctor or something, you can throw that in. If you're selling a book, you can say, well, these people like this book, this person recommends this book. If you're drop shipping, you say, well, my products are, here I am. I have this many great customers, happy customers. And then you do your call to action, basically, which is sign up here to get on our mailing list, or it's, um, buy, check out more, read more here, something like that. Or you might just, if they're ready to buy, you get them warmed up and they can go to that page to buy your product, sales page.
And so,
I'm doing pre-sale, actual warming of the prospects, like the second step after the ad. What comes my pre-sale, and that's what I specialize in, to get them clear on the product and see if they're that's really what they want. If they click their ad, they're probably a little bit interested. Get to the pre-sale page and tell them all the stuff I just said, and if they're ready to move forward for purchase, you can get them to the sales page, which I've done those too, but I'm just specializing in pre-sales now because they're so important for recognition and trust, rather than just bringing them to the sales page and maybe they're turned off. It's an easier way of warming your audience. Like saying, if you went to the used car dealership, say they'll offer you a cup of coffee and chat a while. You see what I'm saying? And then this guy is not going to hard sell me. He actually has a good product for me or whatever. And then
build some rapport.
show them yeah, it's a report thing. That's right. You got it.
So a
More like,
copywriter, because some people might think that, like, you are selling something, but really what you're
yeah,
doing is selling a service for people who are selling something. And that service is how to use words to increase the sales of their existing product or service.
that's right. That's a great way to put it, Jack. That's right. I'm helping entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, and product creators to get their product out there. Maybe they're great at creating a product, or they have something special they want to sell, and I'm the one to introduce it. And go ahead, rapport.
Yeah, build that
So it's
rapport. So in my
yeah,
case, I'm thinking of when this would apply to me. And right now, I'm working on a Udemy course that is about living in Nicaragua, like which we mentioned earlier.
oh,
It's similar to living in the Philippines. Um,
yeah,
and
I'd write you a
so
pre
in this case,
for
I
it.
have a product, right? I have this course, and
Yeah,
so the
got
copy part would be all of the text on the landing page and all of the like marketing emails. So if I were to hire a copywriter once I finish this course, that's the kind of stuff they would work on, right? Like they would set up the paragraphs that are sent out to the email lists to get people to be interested in the course. Um, they would change the wording of the landing pages and the descriptions of the course and the text contains in the advertisements. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. What I'd do first, if I had that job, I would read your course, research as much about moving to Nicaragua as I could, and then start writing about it. Why your course is special. You have to make your course special. So it floats above all the other courses, right? This is
Yeah.
Jack's course. Jack's course is special, right? So I'd make it like that. Give you a unique mechanism for your course, which would be something like, well, we'd have to think on that. Would it
Yeah.
be a special term to describe what your course will do for them, not just say, oh yeah, it's a course to move to Nicaragua, like that. We'd have to make it, appealing,
Yeah,
right?
why would they do that? Why would they be interested? Yeah.
Yeah, and why is your course? Well, you have to say better than the rest, or what is the appeal, and find your audience, right? So I'd
Yeah,
look
I
to
think I'm
write
gonna
to
reach out to you
your
after once because I've almost finished this. And it's
yeah,
in a
right
it's
on.
a very unique situation because there's this is a Udemy course, right? And there's literally like if you search Udemy on Nicaragua, there's not a single thing. Most people don't
Oh,
even
that's
know what continent Nicaragua is in. I didn't. I thought it was in Africa. And now I've lived there for 2 years. Obviously, I know where it is. But I'm really excited about this because
yeah,
so I made
yeah,
like 5 courses, right?
yeah.
And
What are your other courses?
so I have a course about fatigue. I have a course about YouTube. I have a course about like software. Course about drop shipping, and
Yeah, yeah,
a like crash course about YouTube, right? And one of these
yeah, right.
courses made 20 grand. The others barely made like $300-400. And so
Yeah,
I've spent a lot of time looking at the circumstances that led to that one course doing so well. And I now understand there's 2 reasons for that. One, I was one of the only people distributing that information. Like maybe there were like 5 to 10 or 15 other people, which is almost like when you're talking about number of competitors in the online world, 5 to 10 is nothing. That is like you're basically the only
yeah.
person in that world. Whereas now, dropshipping information is rampant. It is everywhere. It is really hard to get yourself established compared to how it was 2 or 3 years ago. And so I'm excited about the
Oh, yeah.
Nicaragua course because there's, first off, if you go to YouTube and you search for Nicaragua, there's almost no new videos about people talking about Nicaragua. There's a lot of stuff that makes Nicaragua look bad. There's really not, Nicaragua doesn't have like a voice in the Western world. And that's something a lot of my Nicaraguan friends have talked a lot about, how they need more Western people to kind of show other Westerners that Nicaragua exists, right? So I feel like I'm kind of getting into my fate here. But I'm excited
Right
because
on.
I hadn't thought about hiring like a copywriter, but I think for this, that might be something that's really beneficial. So I'll be in touch with you after. I'll probably have the course published in another week or so once I return to Nicaragua.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I'd like to take a look at that. I might move there too. Like I said, we're looking to make a move also. We've been here a long time. Of course, my gal's been here almost all her life. We've gone away a couple times, but and me, I've been here 9 years now, 8 years going on 9, and it's time for a change for me. So I need some better internet too, right?
Yeah.
it was good in Cebu, all around the Philippines. That's one thing. If you come here, the internet's not very good, but it's passable in Cebu. It's passable in Manila.
Yeah.
But here, man,
Same
here
with
it's
same with
it's
Nicaragua.
quite
Like in the city, like the
yeah,
capitals or the main cities, you can get good internet. But if you're in like a
yeah.
rural town or a beach town, good luck.
Oh yeah, nothing, huh? Maybe or something. Drop, drop, drip, drop. Earlier tonight, we were just trying to watch YouTube and it wouldn't load. Just look, like, want to listen to music at the store.
Yeah.
But it starts at about 11 p.m. That's why I scheduled my call to you so late. Yeah,
Late for you. For me, it's midday right now. It's 12.
yeah, right on. How's the weather over there?
I perceive it as quite cold because I'm used to the tropics, but it's
Yeah, it's
like
cold.
70 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh yeah, that is cold, man.
It's
That's
freezing,
colder.
man. I'm wearing a hoodie.
Same here. Same here. I always think, hey, it's a little bit cold. It's like 89. Warm is like 103, right? Man, my blood has gotten thin being in the tropics too, right?
Yeah, it's funny how fast you adapt. But listen, I
Yeah.
my friend's gonna get here soon. We're going out to get lunch. So for any of you
All right.
guys who are watching and you're interested in getting in
Yeah, yeah.
touch with Rick, you can see in the background, this is the contact page for his website. It is
Yeah, I'll see.
bigvisioncopy.com. And the email
Go ahead,
address
bro.
is contact@bigvisioncopy.com. You can also find it in the description of the video. And
Yeah,
check out
yeah.
his book.
Yeah, I'll send you some links over there, Jack, if you can put them down below and a picture of me that you can put on the YouTube video if you like.
Yep.
And thanks for interviewing me. I appreciate the time
No worries. This was nice.
interview. Where are you going to lunch at?
We're going to this like Vietnamese town, basically.
What kind of awesome,
Yeah, one of my favorite
awesome,
things,
man. I miss.
the thing I miss most,
Yeah, yeah,
honestly, about Northern Virginia is here you can find any cuisine in the whole world, and not just like restaurants. You can also find cheap grocery stores, like big Asian supermarkets, that sell all of the ingredients to make these cuisines. So for food,
wow.
the access to food here is amazing, and that and hot baths are the two things that I actually miss about living here. Everything else, I prefer living in Nicaragua, but the access to all this different cuisine, you can find Korean food, Latina food, Ethiopian
Yeah,
food, European food, anything you can imagine, you can find here, and I love that. I love trying different food. It's one thing I miss a lot.
yeah, me too. I've always been like that. Ethnic food, Indian food. Wow, it's been a long time. And even Mexican food it's hard to find here. It's not the same as back home.
Yeah.
Mexican food, Chinese food, American Chinese food. The best around. So hey, there's some Chinese food here, but it doesn't really cut it.
Yeah, it's not the same. All right, Rick, my friend just
Not
pulled up, so I gotta go. It was a
great for
pleasure
you.
speaking to you, and I'll be in touch in the future once this
Okay,
course is out, okay?
okay, bro. Nice talking to you. Thanks very much.
No worries. Ciao.
God bless, man.